Over time of creating content, especially on YouTube, my space, I'm going to call it my creative space, has changed quite a bit. The space I'm in now, I've been in for probably the longest period of time, with probably my setup being the way it's been for the longest amount of time, which as a creative person, that's really hard for me to do because I get creatively bored, I call it, and I want to change things up. But I get a lot of compliments on my office space, my background specifically on the video. And I just got one today on the lights back there. And I thought, you know what? I want to talk about creating a space that you like and is comfortable for you that also can work for you on video. So that's what I want to do here. And if you stick around, I'll take you on a little tour around the room and show you some of the things I have placed in camera shot on the wall. I may show you a little bit more why they're there. Some of them have personal meaning, and some of them are just things I bought at the store. But if you want to do that, I'll do that later in the video. Just and do that as well. By the way, my name is Kevin Colby, and I am so excited you are here. So this space, which I did a video quite a while ago. I'll put a link to that down below about this space. So just to give you a little background, my video office studio space, got to think of a better name. I'll just call it my creative cave, is a former bedroom. Size-wise, it's an 11 by 13. I have no idea what the square space on that is. People, I don't do math. So if you know what that is, it's 11 by 13. It's a former bedroom. And I converted it to my office space. And so right now it's upstairs in our home, and it just works. And I've created a space where I can come up here and I can create videos. I can do client calls, coaching calls. I can edit. I can surf videos. It's not a man cave, but it is where I work out of. And I really like this space. I feel comfortable here. And the video I did was showing you the entire space and how I can really maximize a small space. I mean, ultimately, I forgot, and I think I mentioned in that video, I think I've got potentially 7 different setups in this office by either just moving the camera a little or something like that. For a while, since I've been kind of doing more podcasting, if you will, I've landed on this space, thus the background behind me. And what I wanted to share is, in reality, there's a lot of things to get hung up with when you're producing videos in YouTube. And there's going to be people out there that will be more than happy to give you their opinion, whether they're whether they have any qualifications or not. But you know what? Such is life, right? But one of the things that you will hear is, don't have a cluttered space. And it's almost like the YouTube stuff. It's like there's folks out there, well-meaning designers, maybe they haven't done video. Did I say that out loud? That have rules for setting rooms up. My wife and I joke that I would never do one of those TV shows where somebody comes in and designs your house for you. Because you know why? I don't know that you could design it for me. And a lot of times on those shows when they're going, oh, isn't that nice? I'm like, no. I personally like furniture that doesn't match. I like what I like, regardless of whether somebody else likes it. Same thing goes for music and movies as well. But I think it's important to create a space that you feel comfortable with. And I've had people tell me before, pros, that my space is way too cluttered. Well, you know what? Maybe for them, it's not for me. Now, there is a difference, I think, sometimes with your background being kind of blurry, slightly out of focus, if you will. The professional name is bokeh or something like that. just blurry background. Some of this, if you like that look, you can get from a lens you've got. Some of this is distance, and lighting can play a part as well. So because of my lens and where my desk is in my background, it is slightly out of focus. I kind of like that look because you get to see me more, whether you like it or not. But at the same time, if I were shooting with my iPhone or my GoPro or my DJI Osmo Pocket 3, great camera, it would be more in focus. If I were closer on the background, it would be more in focus. Now, can you have a background that is absolutely so cluttered? There's so much stuff there that it's distracting to the viewer? Yes. But at the same time, I have come to believe, and I'm going to stand by this, that creating your space, whatever space that is, that makes you feel comfortable, can actually help you be more comfortable on camera. Now, I've been doing this long enough that I don't have a problem with hitting record and talking and sharing things that hopefully you enjoy. But I have things set up where I can just go with that. But I will say I like my space. It's just when I walk into this office, I feel like, yeah, I mean, I've hung everything here. I didn't paint the walls. I had somebody paint that, and I had somebody put the floor down, you know. But other than that, everything I've hung back here, or hung on the wall, or placed something, or whatever. I feel good in this space. I like creating in this space. I have seen channels where it's a very crowded garage, or it looks like they're in a warehouse, or they're in a corner room. And you know what? Who cares? If you think about more of your message and who you're wanting to talk to, and it probably should be the other way around. Who do you want to talk to and why? What do you want to share and why? I think everything else is irrelevant. There are YouTube creators who sit in their car and do their videos. In their car. I've seen people in garages. I've seen people at coffee shops. On and on and on. I personally think, I wrote this down, I think it's kind of dangerous. Why did I say dangerous? But when you're trying to follow the do this, don't do this of designers, maybe that works for certain things. But when you're creating a space to do videos, I wouldn't worry too much about what's in the space. There's one caveat. As opposed to, do you like it and does it feel like you? Actually, there's two caveats. One, I would be very, very careful about making sure there's nothing personal information in the background. Like, for example, if you have kids and you don't want your kids in the video at all, I've seen creators like Casey Neistat will not show his kid's face in there. If that's the case, then I would make sure photos of your family are not in the background unless they're blurred out. If there's personal information hanging somewhere or laying on a table or something like that, that is readable, legible, readable, I'd make sure that you don't show that. So there is that. The other caveat is green screen. I absolutely, 100%, positively, how else more adamant can I be? I would not use green screen at all, period. Why? Here's my take on green screen. Unless you have the budget that Marvel has to create their movies like the Avengers, there will come a time where your green screen just ain't going to look that good. Seriously, have you ever been watching a video and somebody's moving around and all of a sudden their arms disappear, but yet they still have arms? Green screen will never give you the depth that I have. This depth is real. I'm here. I don't use green screen. Also, it's one more thing you have to fool with when you're creating. I mean, you're going to have to figure out how to key the green screen out. So it's one more level of even processing your computer has to do. I like real. So again, some things to think about as you're doing this. I would create a space, find a space that's comfortable to you, again, that makes you feel comfortable in your videos. Because I do believe that if you want to do videos and they kind of freak you out, I'm just not that comfortable on camera. I get that. But I think being in a space that's very comfortable is better. I've seen creators sit in a big comfy chair with a cup of coffee, doing things at their kitchen table, doing things in their garden, wherever it is. Now, I will say if you're outside, sometimes you may have less control over the background. Like, for example, you can't see it, but to my right, there's a window right here. And right now I have a shade I can pull down that kind of blocks the light. It doesn't completely control the light. Like right now it's a blue sky outside, but if it was the clouds were rolling in and it was getting darker, you would see the light change a little back there. But again, I have a light here that I can control. But I would create a space that you're comfortable with, that you enjoy sitting down, and it's like, yeah, this is my space. Also, I would ask yourself, is your space just for production or other things? So, for example, I know some creators, and by the way, I absolutely am a sucker for desk tours and studio tours. I will watch those things constantly. Doesn't matter who the creator is. I could care less how big the channel is or small or whatever. When they're like, hey, let me give you a tour of my studio or desk, I'm in. I just love watching that stuff. But there are people out there that have purely production places. They've got the cool sound paneling, they've got the cool lights, they've got, cameras, maybe multi-cameras and things like that. But it's just to sit down and do videos. If that's a space you're doing, then think about that as you're designing it. And again, when you're designing, it doesn't have to, again, I do not believe you have to bring a designer in. Or is this a space you're going to do a lot from? Like I mentioned earlier, this office video studio room of mine, I have a desk I sit at that I produce from, I've live streamed from, I've edited from, I do my coaching calls on, I just connect with people, I do email, you get the idea. But I also have a chair behind me that sometimes when I'm on a call, I just go back there because I like to chill there. There's other places in this room I can do things. I can sit back there and read. I can hang out and look out the window. In fact, just yesterday, it was so nice. I had the window open just because it was like, oh man, I just wanted to get the breeze and hear the birds and even the neighbors mowing the grass. So whatever you're going to do your space for, just think about that. Another one thing is I think your space can really give viewers more of kind of an insight into you. I mean, if you're a book nerd, yeah, I've written 2 books, but I don't read as much as my wife does. Bless her heart, I don't know how she does it. She can read 2 or 3 books at the same time. They have to be different genres, but it's hard enough for me to get through one book. But if you're a book nerd, if you love books, you may want books behind you. If you're a collector of comic books, I used to collect comic books, still actually have thousands and thousands of comic books. I'm not a hoarder. Thank you for your concern, but I still have them. You may want that on the back wall. It could be collectibles. It could be things like, again, when I do a little tour, a little kind of show and tell of my background here or in my office in just a minute, my background, you'll hear some of the things I have. But it can be an insight into that, something that means a lot. I mean, I've seen people who have guitars hanging on their wall, and you start going, "Ooh, wonder if they're a musician," and maybe their channel's not even about music. So it can do that. I would also just play with things. Again, I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that I have had several different looks in my office. Some of it has been out of necessity. I've changed things up here and there. Some of it's been just I've gotten creatively bored. My office, the way it's set up now, just works very well for me, and I like it and I feel comfortable in here. But be willing to change things up. It's not like you can't ever repaint a wall or hang things up. Now, maybe you're in a space that isn't yours. You're either leasing, so it's an apartment you're renting, or a workspace or something like that. You may be limited, but even then, there's other things you can do. You can set things up. It may be very minimal. It may just be a bookcase with some knickknacks and a couple of lights on there that gives you some cool space. So again, I get that you may be on the go, but you know what? I've watched videos that have been great that have been shot in hotel rooms. Now, I can tell they're in hotel rooms, but I don't care. I mean, ultimately, it's your space. It is your space to do with and tweak and adjust. So you look, I don't want you to hear this like permission. You don't need permission for me to do anything. I'm just thankful you're here and you want to create. But I do think there's something about creating a space you feel very comfortable in, that makes you comfortable, that can also make your audience comfortable. I mean, think about who you want to talk to. I do these videos, and in my mind, we're sitting having a cup of coffee. I've used this analogy a lot because I just like the analogy, and I love coffee, even though I don't have a cup right now. So I want this vibe of just we're sitting talking in a space that feels comfortable. And yes, there are things in the background that I have put there because I like them, but two, I also know that they can create conversations. And you can see some of them in the background right now. The 24 pillow up on the shelves. There's the robot from the Lost in Space. There's a Batman cookie jar. Even some photos back there. Yeah, there's the YouTube silver play button and some other things that you might not be able to see. But to me, they all have a story. And therefore, every once in a while, somebody will say, oh, just today, did you ever work on the show 24? I didn't. I promoted it a lot. And I met the cast at the premiere of 24 Live Another Day. That's a whole different story. Let me know if you ever want me to tell that story about how I auditioned to get to go to it and got to meet Kiefer and the guys. They were really cool. Even the lights and things like that, the light pole you see back there with the three lights. I've been struggling to find a light back there I really like that wasn't so glaring on everything. I got that. All these lights in the background, the accent lights, are Govee, Govee. I'll put a link to those below if you want to check them out. And when I plugged it in, all three of those lights can be independently changed and controlled, or you can sync two of them up. And out of the box, it just started changing colors. And I thought, well, I'll change that because, you don't want to do that in the background. And I'm like, dang, I kind of like that. And yes, if I were to edit every and ah and space out of here, the colors would radically change. And maybe that's a little distracting. But if your message is on point, and if you know who you're talking to and what you want to talk about, that's going to be far more important. And then your background, your space kind of becomes a character, if you will, in your videos. So I like to look at my creative space as a character in my videos that has life. So let me show you just kind of around if you're interested. If you're not, and you got to bail now. I know you got things to do. I appreciate it, but let me take you kind of around the horn, and hopefully you get something out of this. Ask questions if you want, and thanks for watching. But don't go anywhere. Video's not over yet. Cue the tour. Okay, and so now the background tour, and just to give you a little perspective again, this is my desk. So this is usually where I am. It's a sit-stand desk. I've got it standing right now, but this is where I shoot my videos. There's the mic. In fact, I was using Ecamm. Those were my notes right there I was glancing at. So just to give you a perspective, there's the camera on top, and you can see the background there, which I'll show you here. And I'm just going to point out some of the things. Like, for example, up here is the verse from the Bible, Ephesians 2:10, for we are God's masterpiece. He's created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago. It's one of my go-to verses. and some other things there. In fact, I think I just did that in Canva. One of the things I've mentioned before is my love for the show 24. And so when I worked in television as a creative director, at the end of the run, they sent us this, and every one of those, if you can kind of see it from the glare, every one of those is reminiscent of the poster for that season, and that's a piece of the floor from the set. Also, American Idol was big for us. No, I did not go to Hollywood. I can't sing at all. My wife is a beautiful singer. Actually was in a group and they did a couple of CDs. But this is reminiscent of the golden ticket that the contestants would get. So the last season of American Idol on Fox, they sent all the creative directors that. And again, this has become a conversation piece. People will see that sometimes and they'll go, oh, were you on American Idol? No, and trust me, you don't want me to be. This was the silver play button I got when I hit 100,000 subscribers. So something like this. And again, it might be a little hard to see, but this was painted by my mother. And my mother passed away a couple of years ago. And I've always loved this picture. She never saw herself as an artist. I thought this was gorgeous, and I wanted it to be part of this. Now, other things like this that are prominent, I think all of these things, I think came from Hobby Lobby. Ironically, and I've mentioned I collect comic books. I don't collect comic books anymore. I was far more of a DC Comics fan than a Marvel Comics fan, but I just liked these because they're reminiscent of covers. This was a poster my oldest son got somewhere, and I just liked it. I liked the Beatles. I framed it up there. So got some family photos here. So again, you've got everything back here, you know, that's from when I was in Fox. That was at Fox. That's, I think it's our oldest son when he was a little baby. My wife took that picture. Isn't that kind of cool? But again, this is the background that I have. And the pillow, I forgot to say. So if I sit back at my desk, sometimes you can see, if I can get my big honking, you can see the pillow there. And there's a longer story to this, but I actually went to New York when they did, let me lean down, when they did they did a special VIP thing for the 24 Live Another Day miniseries, which was excellent. And so I got to meet the cast, shot some videos and things like that. And these pillows were all over the party, and somebody said, just take one. So I've got that, and I think it just says, what does it say? Fox on the background. So I have it there. It's comfortable, and it is a conversation starter, I'm not gonna lie. You've got a desk there, and then there's other things over here. Family photos, family pictures, all of these were done through a company called Mixtiles, I think. Super cool, they just stick right on the wall. But then there's like odds and ends here. So like, this is the robot. Let me know if you remember Lost in Space. That was one of my favorite shows growing up. The monster scared me to death. This, I had this since I was a kid. So this is actually mine. It's the robot from there. Wife got me this. Batman cookie jar, big Batman fan. This came from the Warner Brothers store when they were closing it down. And then back here, you've got some other things, like these are actually lenses. This is a little Funko Pop that my youngest son had done of me, cameras, 2 of the books I've written. Then down here you see other things, like for example, this is actually a mic that Fox sent me that's about American Idol. You've got some other things here, like my late father-in-law made that, Batman stuff. This was really cool. So this is when I went on a mission trip to Ecuador and we were leaving and they gave us that. Isn't that really neat? Books, Bible, and then other things down here as well, which are kind of hard to see. There's a picture of this is a few years ago, my oldest, me and my dad. And so again, I'm showing you all this just to say that the background has meaning to me everywhere. Now there's other things here, like over in the corner, there's a lamp, those signs right there. And then over here, which you never see this from this angle, but everything is placed here on purpose. So these are like what I consider my gifts: give, lead, create, teach, and encourage. These are lanyards that I got over the years from different places. These are cameras. So like, for example, this was my first camera ever. It's a film camera. That was my wife's. All of these other ones belong to my father-in-law. And I just thought, oh, dang, that's pretty cool. Photos up there. I love this one. That's me as a baby. I don't know if I was cute or not. I can't see it. And other things like that. And then I've got stuff over the desk that you never ever see. So the idea is to create a space that you're comfortable with, and it may even create conversation as well. So I don't know where to look. Here, whatever. So I hope you like this video. Hope you like the tour. Drop any comments or questions below. Hope to see you next time. That's it for me. Bye. Later. Doing the walk away. Walk away. Just walk away.